guys, welcome back to Our World Outdoors. I'm Tony, and today I'm going to show you the easiest way to make beef jerky and make it taste like the professionals made it at a really cheap price. So today we're going to be using High Country wild game seasoning. Now pretty much any of these guys that produce seasonings are good. This is a multi-pack. I actually got this for Christmas. So let's see what flavoring we have left in here, because I've used pretty much all of it. Okay, so we're doing original. All right, and this is the cure packet. Basically it's salt, but we'll get into that more later. So this packet is good for anywhere from 3 to 5 pounds of meat. Now, the key to meat and why wild game is actually better is because wild game has a reduced fat content. Like when we hunt deer, they have very little fat on them. But today we're going to be using regular beef, hamburger, and ours comes from a butcher. So we're going to be using approximately 4 pounds. It's actually about 3.75 between the two packs. Now, when you're buying it, buy it with the lowest fat content. And I'm just going to tell you right off that if it comes in like a tube, don't buy that. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me what they do to it. But if it's in one of those tubes, it just doesn't work as well. And if you take a pack of hamburger, you buy a regular pack of hamburger, and then take some of that hamburger that comes in the tubes and cook it side by side, you'll also see the difference, because the tube stuff shrinks up to next to nothing. So we're going to break up our thawed out hamburger here. And I'm just trying to make this just as easy as possible. This is not hard. But when you see how much jerky comes out of this, I mean, you go buy 6 or 8 ounces or 10 ounces, you're going to pay $5, you know, for that little bag of jerky in a store. And this way, you can make lots of it cheap. Most times you can get a hamburger for under $3 a pound, depending upon where you get it. So now we got that broke up. We're going to open our seasoning. And what you want to do is you don't want to just dump the whole thing in. Sprinkle it over it. And then start mixing it in. And just continue that process. Sprinkle some over it. Stop. And kind of fold it into the meat. We want to get the flavor all the way through it. You don't want to end up with half your jerky having flavor and half having no flavor and just tasting like hamburger. And this is going to make the chewy kind of jerky. You're not going to have to pull hard. It's not hard to chew. And you can apply any ground meat to this formula, any ground red meat. Like I said, we do a lot of it during deer season. A lot of it. And I do a lot for other people too. People bring their deer over and we'll grind it up and make some jerky for them. Now while I'm mixing this in, you can take this in a rolling pin on some parchment paper or wax paper and roll it out and make your jerky that way. But what we do is we use the Presto jerky gun. I've seen it go as cheap as $7 on Walmart, on eBay. But at Walmart, usually it's like 10 bucks for it. And it's well worth it. And you'll see why in just a minute. Now in today's video, we're going to go straight from this to the dehydrator. But what I will tell you is, if you take this after we get all the cure and all the flavoring packet put in, and put it in your fridge overnight, and then the next morning set it out and let it come to room temperature before you shoot it through the gun, the flavor will be a lot better. All right, so there's that. And then we're going to take our cure packet, which, like I said, this is basically just salt. And in this case, I don't know if you can see that, it's pink Himalayan salt is what it is. And then I actually have pink Himalayan salt, so I'm going to add some more to it. But if you're in a situation where you don't have sea salt or pink Himalayan salt, you know, half a teaspoon of regular salt spread throughout it and mixed in good will help as well. So as we're mixing this, it's actually warming the meat up a little bit, and that's just going to make it go through the gun easier. And you really don't need the gun. You can put it on wax paper, roll it out with a rolling pin, cut it in strips, and do the same thing I'm about to do. But the gun is fast and efficient and easy. And I can't stress how important it is to make sure your meat's mixed thoroughly with these flavorings and cures. The longer you want to do it, the better. And like I said, the more you work it, the warmer it's going to get and easier it's going to go through the gun. So we got it mixed up. Now we're using the double shooter. It's got round ones. It's got one big one that's this wide. It's got a couple different heads. This is the one that I like because it kind of makes them more bite size in my opinion. The round one, the small round one is really good too. But basically all you're going to do is take your meat, shove it down in here, and don't fill it all the way, but pretty close. Then you're going to take your actual gun, put it on there, make sure it's all tightened. All right, and then all you're going to do is just like a caulking gun. As you pull it, it's going to ratchet it and push it out. So let me get stuff cleaned up and set up here. And then I'll be back with you and I'll show you how we shoot it down onto the trays. So just give us a minute here. Okay, and we're back. So I'm going to do my best to make it so you can see what I'm doing. But if not, I'll hold up the tray at the end. But basically, you take your gun, you go to your tray, and you start to squeeze until you see it start to peek out. Once it peeks out, you don't want to push it down on the tray. You just want to glide across it and just spin the tray. And it doesn't have to be perfect. And don't go fast. Go slow. And just keep going around and round and round. Okay, and then we're going to start a new row on the inside and do it the same way. And when you're done, it should look something like that. Now, when these dehydrate, you're going to have 2 sticks, and you can break them up into lengths and put them in the bag. But I'm going to go ahead and finish all these up and get them ready, and then we'll be back. Okay guys, we got our trays all done. It ended up making 4 trays, plus there's a full gun left, which basically a full gun equates to 1 more tray. So after I run this run, I'll have to fill up 1 more tray and run it again. There is no time I can tell you for what's correct on how to do these. Basically, you don't want to do it so far that they look dried out on top, but you want to do it enough. So generally what I tell people is rotate your trays every hour, and at the 6 to 8 hour point start watching them. But with jerky, it's a little different. It just depends on a lot of variables. Now, whether you're doing this with deer or whether you're doing this with beef jerky, I mean like beef or something else, I've learned a lesson that keeps my wife very happy. And that's take you some kind of container and put it under your dehydrator, because this thing will just pour grease out, especially these kind of dehydrators. So basically what happens is it all leaks out. So it makes a mess everywhere, grease everywhere. So I just put it down in a bowl, just like that. Doesn't have to be perfect. And I put my trays on, put my lid on, and plug it in. And I'm gonna let that just run. Now, I personally know that with this setup, I have to start really checking it at 8 hours. But like I said, every hour I'm out there rotating the trays. The bottom one goes to the top, bottom one goes to the top. You just keep doing that. That way they cook evenly and dehydrate out evenly. And then this will have about a 1/2 inch to 1 inch, depending upon how much fat content is in your meat, of grease in it when you're done. It just happens. Hamburger, just especially beef, has lots of fat in it. Even if you buy the lean version, it still has a bunch of fat in it, and it's going to just drip down. And happy wife, happy life. So as long as I'm catching it in this, my wife is happy. And she's even more happy when she can take my jerky and run away with it and take it to work. So we'll let this dehydrate. I'll give you an idea of what the finished product should look like, how it breaks and bends, and we'll get to that. It'll probably be about 8 hours, so we'll be pushing sometime early in the morning. But I'll get back with you then and let you know and show you how it turned out. And this is just as simple as it gets. This is going to taste as good, if not better, than like Jack Link's. It's not as spicy as Slim Jim, but it's that same thing. It's that chewy jerky. It's not the stuff that you're pulling hard on. All right, so I'll get back with you in the morning when we get this all run through, and we'll go over the final results then. Okay guys, and we're back. It's been approximately 9 hours, and our jerky is done. So I don't know how well you can see that from there, but the way I kind of tell is I'll grab it. It should be pretty firm on the outside. When you pull it apart, it should almost feel like it has a little bit of ripping. The inside should be real close to what the outside color is. If it pulls apart and kind of just separates, it's still raw inside. If it doesn't have any drag when you pull it apart. Now, I probably could have let this go another hour if I was going to store it long term in the freezer. I would not keep this stuff in the freezer more than a month. That's just my personal opinion. In my house, I can put this in the refrigerator and it's going to be gone probably in a week. Because whenever I make jerky and anyone sees it in the fridge, it just gets torn down. Everybody eats it up. So throughout the night, I was rotating the trays. Like I said, about 9 hours. Probably could have gone 10, but this just makes it a little more moist. And I kind of want you to get a concept of what it is compared to what you buy in the store. Now, if I was going to freezer keep this, I would blot it with a paper towel just to get some more of the grease off. But since it's going in the fridge, I'm not going to. And the worst part is about to come when I have to clean all this stuff. I like to just kind of soak them in soapy water. And then I've got a little brush that I just run across the trays. It makes the cleaning a lot easier. But as you can see, you can just pull them up. And don't forget, I still have an entire tray's worth of meat that still needs dehydrated in the fridge. Because I filled the 4 trays and still had one more gun full that I need to run. All right. Look at the size of the bag of jerky. All right. Jack Link's has little tiny pieces across the bottom of their little bags, and they're like $5 to $7. Look at that. And one more rack to go, so this bag will be completely full when I'm completely done. Now, if this was wild game like deer, it'd probably cost us about $3 to $5 to do this bag. With it hamburger, it kind of depends on what you pay for the meat. But my guess is you'd have maybe $11 in that, which is still a heck of a good price. Plus you don't have all the chemical preservatives. Now it won't last as long as like Jack Link's or a Slim Jim because you don't have chemical preservatives in it. But most times you'll never get it to last that long anyways. You make jerky in your home, I almost guarantee you that everybody's going to eat it all before you even... Sometimes we eat it all before we even can get it out on the trail. So I'm going to get all this cleaned up and put away. That's the fun part you guys won't have to see. Now, just so you guys know, I don't know if you can see that in there, that grease. But that would have been a mess all over the countertops. So make sure you line your dehydrator with some kind of bowl or a deep pan or tray. But this is our video on how we make premium jerky cheap and easy at home. So if you like the video, please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one.